In November 2025, Johannesburg became the epicenter of global diplomacy, as the world's attention turned to South Africa. The city, known for its vibrant energy and storied past, was transformed into a stage for history as it welcomed leaders from the world's most powerful economies. For the first time ever, the G20 convened on African soil, marking a pivotal moment not just for the continent, but for the global community. The streets buzzed with anticipation as convoys of dignitaries arrived, and the air was thick with the promise of change. The summit, hosted by President Cyril Ramaphosa, was more than a diplomatic gathering. It was a bold statement to the world. Africa was ready to lead, not just participate. Ramaphosa's warm welcome set the tone for a summit that would challenge old hierarchies and invite new voices to the table. The agenda was ambitious and urgent. Leaders confronted the climate crisis, debated solutions to mounting sovereign debt, and tackled the complexities of global inequality. These were not just talking points, they were existential challenges demanding real action. At the heart of the discussions was a call for a just energy transition, with the needs and aspirations of the developing world placed firmly at the center. African delegates, in particular, spoke passionately about the continent's right to sustainable growth and equitable access to resources. The spirit of Ubuntu, the belief in our shared humanity, infused every moment of the summit. Cultural performances and heartfelt exchanges reminded everyone that collective responsibility and mutual respect must guide the world's response to its greatest challenges. Yet, the summit was marked by the conspicuous absence of the United States, which chose to boycott the gathering. The empty American chair was a stark visual, casting a shadow over the proceedings and prompting urgent questions about the future of global leadership. But rather than falter, the remaining leaders found renewed purpose. They seized the moment to forge new alliances, deepen cooperation, and reimagine a world order that was no longer dependent on a single superpower. The conversations were candid and at times contentious. Yet, there was a shared determination to build a multipolar world, one where power and responsibility are more evenly distributed and where every nation has a voice. Johannesburg's own history of resilience and transformation became a living metaphor for the summit's mission. The city, once divided by apartheid, now stood as a symbol of hope, proof that overcoming division is possible, and that a more equitable world can be built through unity and courage. The empty American chair was not a sign of weakness, but a powerful symbol of shifting global dynamics. It signaled the emergence of new leaders, new alliances, and a new era, one where the world's future would be shaped by many, not just by one. For the first time in history, Africa played host to the G20, a moment that marked not just a change in venue, but a transformation in the very nature of global leadership. The world's eyes turned to Johannesburg, where the continent's vibrant energy and ambition set the stage for a new chapter in international cooperation. This gathering signaled a profound shift in global governance, as leaders from every corner of the world came together to address challenges that transcend borders: climate change, economic inequality, and the future of technology. With the African Union now a permanent member of the G20, the voices and aspirations of 1.4 billion people were brought directly to the heart of decision-making. For the first time, Africa's priorities were not just heard, but actively shaped the agenda. President Cyril Ramaphosa called this moment the dawn of a new era, one where Africa's unique challenges and immense opportunities would be recognized as global concerns, demanding global solutions. The summit moved decisively beyond the old donor-recipient paradigm. Instead, the focus was on forging genuine partnerships, encouraging investment, and building sustainable growth through collaboration and mutual respect. Johannesburg's role as host city was more than symbolic. It was a powerful act of decentralization, a statement that global governance must be more inclusive, more representative, and more attuned to the realities of the global South. Across the continent and beyond, the symbolism of this moment resonated deeply. It inspired pride, hope, and a renewed sense of possibility for millions who saw themselves reflected in the summit's proceedings. Africa was no longer on the margins of global affairs. It was leading from the front, helping to shape the rules and priorities of a new international order, one that promises to be more just, equitable, and forward-looking. As the world watched, Africa took its rightful place at the head of the table, signaling a future where its voice will help guide the destiny of nations. The U.S. boycott of the Johannesburg summit was a historic rupture. President Trump's administration cited baseless grievances, rejecting the summit's focus on climate, debt relief, and equity. The U.S. refused to endorse any joint declaration, breaking with G20 tradition. This absence created a vacuum, raising questions about the future of multilateralism and the stability of global institutions. Argentina's President Milei joined the boycott, deepening ideological rifts within the G20. The empty American chair became a stark symbol of a fractured world order. President Ramaphosa turned the U.S. absence into an opportunity, rallying leaders around multilateralism. He focused on consensus, not confrontation, and worked tirelessly to bridge divides. His leadership secured a joint declaration on day one, a direct rebuke to U.S. demands. The agreement addressed climate action, debt relief, and peace, proving the G20's resilience. Ramaphosa championed the Global South, ensuring outcomes translated into real action. He called for a new global deal to reform international finance, making it fairer for developing nations. The summit's center of gravity shifted, creating a more inclusive forum for the future. Johannesburg would be remembered for its achievements, not its absences. The summit's agenda tackled urgent, interconnected crises: climate, debt, and development. Leaders moved beyond rhetoric, setting ambitious renewable energy targets and stressing climate justice. The just transition was central. Developing nations demanded support for clean energy without sacrificing growth. Financing mechanisms for renewables in Africa, Asia, and Latin America took center stage. Sovereign debt relief was addressed head-on, with calls for fundamental reforms to break cycles of dependency. Peace and security were linked to development, with specific calls for humanitarian access in conflict zones. The holistic approach reflected South Africa's vision: prosperity, peace, and sustainability are inseparable. The summit's outcomes aim to deliver real change for billions. The summit's success, despite the U.S. boycott, drew praise from leaders worldwide. Brazil's President Lula hailed the revival of multilateralism and the power of international cooperation. German Chancellor Merz noted the world's shift toward multipolarity, critiquing U.S. isolationism. The White House dismissed the summit's achievements, highlighting deepening divides. President Ramaphosa celebrated the joint declaration as proof of unity and progress. He emphasized the Global South's central role, fulfilling the promise of South Africa's presidency. His statesmanship contrasted sharply with Washington's rhetoric, positioning him as a bridge builder. The summit closed on a note of optimism and resolve. As the summit ended, a dispute over the ceremonial G20 gavel underscored tensions with the U.S. The U.S. requested the gavel be handed to a junior embassy official, breaking protocol. President Ramaphosa refused, insisting on respect for tradition and institutional dignity. South Africa's stance, backed by other delegations, asserted equality and sovereignty. The standoff became a symbol of the struggle for a more balanced world order. The U.S. boycott complicated the transition, but instead of isolating South Africa, it united other members. The episode highlighted the G20's commitment to collaboration over confrontation. Johannesburg's legacy was one of principle and unity. The Johannesburg Leaders' Declaration was the summit's crowning achievement. It set ambitious climate goals and recognized the need for support to developing nations. The declaration called for swift debt relief and put social progress at the heart of economic growth. It linked peace and security to prosperity, calling for diplomatic solutions in global hotspots. The document created a mandate for real action, not just words. Its legacy depends on the political will to implement its promises. The declaration was a victory for cooperation and shared responsibility. Johannesburg proved that progress is possible, even in a divided world. The 2025 G20 summit in Johannesburg marked a pivotal turning point in global power dynamics, drawing the world's attention to the African continent like never before. For decades, Africa's voice was often overlooked in major international forums, but this summit changed that narrative dramatically. Africa emerged not just as a participant, but as a central player, confidently leading the conversation on the world's most critical issues, ranging from climate change and economic development to global health and security. African leaders brought fresh perspectives and innovative solutions, challenging old assumptions and inspiring new collaborations. The summit became a powerful validation of multilateralism at a time when nationalism and protectionism were on the rise in many parts of the world. Leaders from every continent recognized the importance of working together, setting aside differences to address shared challenges. 18 major economies, along with the African and European unions, found common ground on urgent issues like climate action, debt relief, and the pursuit of peace. The agreements forged in Johannesburg reflected a new spirit of cooperation and mutual respect. Africa's new role on the world stage is already having lasting effects on trade, investment, and diplomacy. International investors are looking to Africa with renewed interest, and diplomatic ties are being strengthened across continents. The summit set a powerful precedent. African voices now actively shape global decisions, ensuring that policies reflect the realities and aspirations of a diverse world. Johannesburg's story was one of new leaders stepping forward, of bridges being built between nations, and of a more inclusive world order taking shape before our eyes. Its legacy is the enduring belief that unity, leadership, and transformative change can emerge from anywhere, reminding us that the future of global power is more open, diverse, and hopeful than ever before.